do you make it happen, Saurabh? What have been the ingredients that you've had to prioritize and focus on to ensure that you actually make Akanksha one of the top 3 schools in the best schools list? And what is it that we can take away from this if one were to put a playbook together?
So Shireen, I would say that one of the important aspects that we as a nation must embrace is what Vikas highlighted, which is really seeing the role of schools at the forefront of change. I just think that there's not adequate attention given in really thinking about amplifying what's really working in strong schools. And I think the opportunities to be able to use the forum like T4 or so many others that even happen in our own country to really study what goes into make an excellent school, whether it's run by a non-state actor or as well as the government itself, will be supremely useful for policymakers first and foremost. Second, I think like all of us on this panel will concur the phenomenally important role of educators in any school system, which is teachers as well as the school principals. And I just think that in India, we really, really need to find a way to embrace far more autonomy and empowerment, with which we believe will come the accountability. And I think that's one of the most important levers that we at Akanksha have prioritized over the years in building a strong ecosystem, as well as, like really not treating the partnership with the parents as well as the community as something that happens outside, right? And how do you really see the role of the school in building the community, or see it as a microcosm of the world or the community that we are creating, and really build far more community collaboration beyond just engaging the parents on school management committees for that matter. And I think that's the second lever. And the third, I would say, is that, it's an opportune time post-COVID where, the world, the Education Summit recently held, by UNICEF, is talking about really reimagining the role of education and what does education look like in the coming decades in and of itself. And I think that's a great conversation to sort of start in our country. And that's another secret sauce, where we are constantly engaging in dialogue with our children, our parents, our educators on what's most meaningful for you and for the children and for the community. And I think if this kind of a continuous dialogue could continue at multiple levels, I think that we will have the necessary ingredients that will allow for some of these practices to scale or amplify.
You're talking about having a conversation and starting a dialogue on how we can reimagine education, reimagine the classroom, and that's what we're attempting to do here on this program on Young Turks. So Rohit, let me get you to build on what we just heard there from Kruti and Saurabh. When we talk about reimagining the classroom with the use of technology, bringing much more of technology into the classroom, changing the method and the manner of educating children, the manner in which educators themselves are being skilled and trained, outline for me the things that you believe policymakers, governments, educators, school principals, the social sector needs to focus on. What could this new model, this new way signal herald?
I think, Shireen, one thing that we keep reminding ourselves at Apni Shala is that when we speak about system is not an abstract concept, right? System is people. And when we are thinking about people, we have to think about relationships. So say, for example, at Apni Shala as well, when we kind of think about building a new partnership with a government school, then we start from the very core and very ground. That what is our relationship with parents of that school? What is the relationship with students or teachers or principals of that school? And then we go to the municipal office to get the final letter of approval that, hey, we want to work in these 20 schools or 22 schools, right? Currently, MCGM is asking us to do like the entire L ward or M ward, but we are choosing not to, because we really believe that when we are building relationships and people really understand what needs to change, it will take time. And that brings to my second point, which is when we are speaking about scale scale will look different for different types of initiatives.
Because let me come to you. You started the program by saying that you were being sent presentations that drove you mad or drove you up the wall in terms of what the ideal school should look like. At the end of this exercise of being able to review and assess what really goes into making a model school, what really goes into driving excellence and good outcomes within a classroom, what is your message today to governments, to policymakers and to educators?
So there's so many points that I want to actually draw upon, Shireen, in this part of your program. The first thing is, when you look at this program and you look at the ticker at the bottom, which says reinventing classrooms with technology, whilst I agree that technology is important, I don't think it's the biggest priority we have to place an emphasis on. Actually, what we know is that we need to make sure that we get the best and brightest teachers into classrooms all over the world. And for that, we have a heck of a lot of work to do. And we know that the holy grail in making sure that we improve learning outcomes lies in making sure that we train our teachers effectively. Now, what we are doing, for example, at T4, post the first round of the World's Best School Prizes, is we're bringing all of these teachers into a professional learning community, and people can download our app on iOS or Android. It's called T4 Communities. And the idea there is that let us learn together, because there's so many similarities of the challenges and the opportunities that schools have around the world that we can learn from, which our prizes actually showcase in a significant way. The second thing I want to tell you is you ask about the secret sauce, and the three leaders that you have over here are far too modest to actually talk about it like this. But I suspect that whilst they're finalists in a particular category, they could actually become finalists in all the other categories that also are there, simply because they're fantastic leaders. And so I'm on the board of an NGO called Global School Leaders, which many of you will know about. And again, the emphasis on leadership in education is something that we need to bring post-pandemic for sure, but we have to recognize and acknowledge the role that good leadership plays in moving things forward and in advancing. And in education, we don't have much actual leadership training and development that is offered to teachers and school leaders. And so I would suspect that the answer, actually the secret sauce, is in making sure that we have more Krutis, Rohits, Saurabhs, and such in the world of education that actually move things along. And then the third thing I want to mention is, these prizes, the prize is a mechanism. And it's not, yes, of course, we're celebrating these schools. You are putting on a program to showcase these schools, which I'm very grateful for. But actually, it's a mechanism to make sure that we inspire conversation and to make sure that those that are watching, at the dining room table this evening, they say, hey, I heard about this school that focuses on social emotional learning for our children. Can we take that practice to our school? So all of your viewers that are watching should be inspired by the three examples here today. Go and learn about them and go to your children's schools and say, we want this in our school. And this is regardless of whether you're a private school, you're a religious school, you're a not-for-profit school. These solutions are scalable and they need your leadership and advocacy, which I'm really grateful to you for. Lastly, we launch our next round of applications for the World's Best School Prizes in a couple of weeks, and we encourage you to have a look at our website and engage with our rubrics and frameworks. We would love to see more Indian schools actually come forward, because the story isn't as bleak as what people put out. Yes, there are these challenges, but these three schools, as an example, have showcased that excellence resides everywhere, but the opportunity to tell their story, only, we need to make sure that they have that opportunity. And that's the most important thing through the prizes that we're trying to do.
Well, I think that point that you made about relevance of solutions for our context, for the Indian context, that's a very important point as well. And I think that is going to be very important as we, go through this process of reimagining what the solutions can be for our schools and for our classrooms. Kruti, Saurabh, Rohit and Vikas, thanks very much for joining us here on this special edition of Young Turks. We wish all of you the very best of luck, and thanks very much for your time as well as for your insights.